it's Nicole, and today I'm bringing you my favorite romance that I read in the month of March. Me and a bunch of my romance buddies, we have this group chat on Voxer. Every month we've been doing a monthly favorite where we send a small clip in and do a collaboration. This month it is my turn to host, so I will be talking to you about my monthly favorite, and then stay tuned and see everybody else's clip for their favorite romance read of March. And everyone's social media links are going to be in the description box below for you, so you can follow them for all the romance love. So my favorite romance read of March was Outfox by Sandra Brown. Sandra Brown writes a number of different genres within romance. She's written contemporary, historical, but in the last few years she's mostly written just suspense romance. And in Outfox we follow FBI agent Drex Easton, and his entire life he has had one goal: to capture and arrest a con man by the name of Weston Graham, who has over 3 decades been assuming different identities and disguises, and he's been luring wealthy women to have a relationship with him so he can embezzle their fortune from them. Every time there's a victim, there's the same pattern. This woman has had a newfound relationship, then all of a sudden she turns up dead, and also the person that she's had this romantic relationship with has also disappeared. So in this book, Drex believes that he is closing in on Weston Graham. He has taken a new identity by the name of Jasper Ford, and Jasper has married the wealthy Talia Schaefer, a brilliant businesswoman and entrepreneur. So Drex goes undercover and becomes their neighbor. He's under the guise of an author who just wants to get away and write his manuscript, and becomes acquaintances with the couple. And from the very first time that he sees Talia, he is instantly attracted to her, but he's torn because he doesn't know if she is an accomplice of his or if she's his next victim. And if Talia is his next victim, Drex has to stop him because he cannot let Talia become the next murder victim. If you've ever read Sandra Brown, you know she's really good at the mystery. She keeps you on the edge of your seat, full of suspense, so many plot twists and turns that as soon as you think you figured it out, she throws you a curveball. Just had a really good time reading this book. I was rooting for Drex and Talia the entire time. I wanted Jasper to face the justice that he deserves because she writes a really good villain as well. He was completely psychotic. Sandra Brown knows how to write an epilogue that just clinches your heart, and I just loved this story so much. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars.
Hey there, it's Bree from In Love and Words, and my favorite book that I read this month was Truth or Beard by Penny Reid. Truth or Beard is the first book in the Winston Brothers series. The Winston Brothers series follows a group of 5 or 6 brothers. I can't remember how many brothers there are, but there's a lot. And each one of them gets their own book. All of them are from the South, so they all have like the Southern charm about them in various different ways. But this book follows Dwayne, who has a twin brother named Beau, and Jessica, who is a math teacher, and she's kind of a nerdy math teacher. In the very beginning of the book, it's kind of hilarious because she dresses up as a sexy Gandalf for a Halloween party, and she dresses up that way ironically because she's kind of making fun of all like the sexy female costumes that there are for Halloween. So she has this kind of nerdiness about her. Jessica has had a childhood crush on Dwayne's twin brother Beau, so there's already this dynamic built right in. And normally that's not something that I usually like. I usually would much prefer stories that follow a couple who are just meeting for the first time, so they're just starting to get to know each other. But right from the very beginning, Penny Reid was able to establish the history between these two characters really well, and I felt like I wasn't being thrown into the story and being told how to feel. I immediately felt all the things that Jessica felt. I understood where Dwayne was coming from, and I think the best part of this book was something that I love in romance novels, and that is a deep longing and yearning. Dwayne is so in love with Jessica, but at the same time, he's also a very quiet person and comes off as kind of mean and standoffish, but on the inside, he's been longing for her for the longest time, and he's watched her be in love with his twin brother for the longest time, and not quite understanding why she loved his brother so much and not him, but he also never really pursued her because that's just not his style. Like I said, he's very quiet, he keeps to himself, and he's definitely one of the more low-key of the brothers. So Jessica obviously has no idea that Dwayne has these feelings for her. And it's one of those books where there's some big roadblocks that come between these two characters, so the entire time you're kind of like, how are they going to work this out? And all you want is for them to be together. You're rooting for them so hard, and there's no roadblocks that seem unnecessary. They're all things that are legitimate concerns. Returns. Penny Reed is a great writer. In this novel, Dwayne restores classic cars, and it's so obvious she either knows a lot about classic cars and how to restore them, or she did a hell of a lot of research. And that's something that I always appreciate in her novels. So if you are looking for a really swoony, beautiful romance that has humor and a little bit of nerdiness and the Southern gentleman and a whole hell of a lot of longing, then you will love Truth or Beard by Penny Reed.
Hello, friends and enemies. I'm Isabel from Happy For Now, here with my March monthly favorite. This was such a hard pick. I read a lot of books in March, but I went with the one that to me was like the snuggliest and fluffiest, because that's currently what I personally need in my life right now to an extent. And that book is Desire and the Deep Blue Sea by Olivia Wade. I read this for the Romance Sparks Joy book club. This book centers around Callie and Thomas, who are co-workers and go on a trip together for a reality TV show of sorts to 3 different islands. And it's forced proximity, super fluffy, great fat rep in it, and anxiety rep as well. It was just utterly delightful. I want to go on an island. I mean, we can't go on an island vacation right now, but boy, does that sound nice. It was such a welcome escape this month, and I highly recommend you check it out, especially if you've never read Olivia Wade.
Hey there, my name is Kayla. I'm from the channel On the Fritz, and my favorite romance for the month of March was Marrying Winterborn by Lisa Kleypas. So Marrying Winterborn is book 2 in the Ravenel series. This is in a historical romance series that follows around this family. We are introduced to the 2 love interests in book 1. So if you're not a person that reads series in order, I do recommend that you read book 1 in the Ravenel series first, because their meet cute is in there, and just the setup for the romance is in that book. They do have a lot of POV chapters and paragraphs in book 1. So about the couple, Helen is the oldest Ravenel daughter. She is very quiet. She was raised very sheltered, her and her 2 sisters. But her being the oldest, she kind of felt a brunt of the neglect. She likes to take care of her mother's orchid collection, a very large orchid collection, and she's just a very quiet wallflower. Rhys Winterborn is a self-made man. He is the owner of a large department store. He has interests in his hands in a lot of things. He's very wealthy, has lots of employees. But since he was a self-made man and he is Welsh, I believe, he is looked down upon still in the community. He's not allowed into certain clubs, and he is looking to marry up and marry someone that is highborn so that he can achieve this high status that he has dreamed of his whole life. Winterborn is in an accident, and Helen kind of nurses him to health. So that's how they meet, and then they eventually get a marriage of convenience set up, and they are engaged in book 1. Something happens and their engagement is broken off. Book 2 picks up right after that. Helen realizes how much she did want to marry Rhys. The chaperones are gone, so she goes by herself, which is very risky back in the day, and she goes straight to Rhys and she says that she wants to marry him. Well, Rhys still wants to marry her, but he tells her that due to circumstances in the first book that ended their engagement, that her family wouldn't accept him and would not approve of their engagement and marriage. So he convinces her to sleep with him so that it ruins her reputation, and that she has to marry him in the eyes of her family. So they have to accept the engagement because her reputation is ruined. And she agrees to it. And so it goes from there. As I've said before in the Ravenel series, the climax surprised me, and I just did not want the climax to happen, and so I put down the book for like 2 days because I didn't want the pair to like break up. But once I picked it up, the climax kind of took a different spin on what I thought was going to happen. We made it through. We made it through the low point of the romance books when you question if there will be a happily ever after.
Hello, I'm Stephanie. I have a booktube channel called Steph's Romance Book Talk, and with my friends, my romance friends, I am giving you guys my favorite book for the month of March. This was a hard decision. However, I did narrow it down to the one. If you watch my other videos, you will find out that I have 4 other ones in my top 5 video for the month of March. But for this video, I want you guys to go check out The Trade by Megan Quinn. And this book follows a baseball player who is traded mid-season, and he ends up going to a town and a city that doesn't like him. He's an excellent baseball player, and he had been with the other team for oh so long that the new team, you know, just doesn't really respect him. The new team also happens to be the bad boy team within the city, because there's 2 teams in the city of Chicago, by the way. So the city of Chicago has 2 baseball teams, kind of like it does already, but these teams are very much rivals, and they definitely, you know, have you're either diehard one or diehard the other, and most of the bad boys go to the one that he happens to get traded to. Well, the team gives him a whole bunch of shit, and, you know, the press gives him a whole bunch of shit. While he's trying to tread those waters, he ends up meeting a baseball player's sister, and he's completely infatuated with her on first look. But then come to find out she's actually married, and this is sort of their story, and I really enjoyed it because it shows that, you know, you can find love after being in a relationship, something that has, you know, being long term. You get married and then you get divorced, and you can find things after that. You can find that you can lean on someone else when things are bad, the press or your teammates and things like that. It also shows a vulnerability within our male character that you don't see very much. He is very much a sort of alpha character, but at the same time he has this vulnerability, and you get to see sort of his stresses throughout the book, and I just really enjoyed that. So if you're looking for a sports romance that is borderline romantic comedy, has some sexy times, has some good vulnerability moments for both of our characters, go check out The Trade by Megan Quinn. And thanks for watching, and we will see you guys later.
Hey Nicole and friends, I'm Bree, and I create videos over on the channel Bree Hill, and my favorite romance that I read in the month of March was An Everyday Hero by Laura Trentham. I had never read anything by Laura Trentham, so I was a little bit nervous, a little bit skeptical going into this book, but I ended up rating it 5 out of 5 stars, and I've been very stingy with my 5-star ratings this year. This follows Greer, and at the very beginning of the book, we meet her in a courtroom, and she is getting a punishment for a one drunken night at a bar type of situation. She was attempting to have a music career in Nashville. That didn't pan out. She goes back to her small town of Madison, Tennessee, and she goes through this breakup with her boyfriend. So she's at this bar, she has one too many drinks, she listens to the same Patsy Cline song over and over again, she gets in her emotions, and she causes a scene. And this scene ends up involving a local police officer who has kind of been a bully to her since she was in high school. So she is in court at the very beginning of the book, and she is tasked with the opportunity for community service to work at a local music outreach program that's mission is to assist veterans and their families. And this is where she meets Allie, a young teenager who pretty much everyone else has kind of given up hope on, and Emmett. And Emmett and her went to high school as well, and he served in the army, and he has lost one of his legs, so he's just this really brooding, pissed off, miserable military veteran. And this is their romance. It was so beautiful. It was really slow moving. You really see Greer use her own kind of tactics to get him to open up to her. She doesn't give up on him, but at the same time she's like really tough on him as well, and that's what he likes about her. This book took an unexpected turn that I had no idea was coming, and it was just really beautiful how everything played out. It was just, the romance was wonderful, and it wasn't overshadowed by like the bigger pictures and deeper meanings, but I also loved that as well. It's all about not succumbing to your circumstances and rising above and finding your purpose. Just because one thing doesn't work out doesn't mean that you still don't have potential to like continue to do something that involves things that you love, and I just loved it. I absolutely loved this book. So if you're in the mood for like a really good small town romance, I highly recommend it. This is book 2 in a series, but to me it felt like it could absolutely be read as a standalone. So yeah, highly recommend this one.
Hi everyone, my name is Chloe and my channel name is Always Booked. And today I'm here to tell you about my 2 favorite March romances. Now I'm telling you 2, which is breaking the rules, but because one is really kind of a darker one and one is more lighthearted. So I am giving you both because this time is so crazy that some of us are in the mood for just lighthearted, easy stuff, and some of us are more into getting engulfed in somebody else's problems instead of our own. So I'm going to give you 2. So the first one is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This was my first Colleen Hoover and I really enjoyed it. This is the darker one though. This one deals heavily with domestic abuse. So if that is a trigger for you, don't pick this one up. But it's a good story about a girl. It's got dual timelines when she was younger and then when she's older, and 2 stories of abuse, both with her mom and with herself. And it is just so very, very good. So if you haven't read this one, I would definitely recommend this. It was a 4.5 star for me. Then on a lighter note, I read The Bright Side of Disaster by Catherine Center, which I think this may be her debut. Yes, it is. It's her debut. And it's about a woman who finds herself, she's like 9 months pregnant and engaged to this guy, living with him, and he's just kind of a bum. And like he does not want to be committed, and he just is not into being a dad, a husband, anything. So he leaves, and then it's kind of her story. There's another romance in it. There's just kind of a little bit of a love triangle that happens, but in such a good way. So this one also deals with motherhood because she has a baby. Obviously, she's 9 months pregnant. And so it was very, very good, very lighthearted, and very enjoyable for me. So this was another 4.5 stars. So those are my 2 favorite March romances. Those are both, they weren't released this month, but I read them this month. So if you have read either of those, let me know your thoughts. And if you haven't, I would highly recommend you pick them up. That's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Hey everyone, my name is Tasha, Book Diva here on YouTube, and I wanted to let you guys know what my March favorite was this month. So it was a really hard pick because I had a lot of really good books this month, but I'm going to go with the Mr. Fiancé by Lauren Landish. This is the 2nd book in the Irresistible Bachelor series, and I want to apologize if this is being kind of shaky, but this follows Mindy, which is the best friend of Brianna, who is in the first book, Anaconda, and Oliver. And Mindy she is all, wrapped up in her career and stuff, and her mom is getting married and wants her to bring her fiance to her wedding. And she's kind of embarrassed and doesn't want to tell her mom she faked it and she doesn't really have a fiance or a boyfriend or anything. Brienne's husband, which is Anaconda in the first book, he ends up having a poker game with Oliver, and Oliver ends up owing him a lot of money from this poker game. So he tells him that he will basically forget this money that he owes him if he goes to pretend to be Mindy's fiance. And oh my gosh, it was so funny. But yeah, I highly, highly recommend it. I recommend this whole entire series. It's really good. So if you haven't checked out this series, definitely check it out. All right, thanks. Bye.
So that was all of our March favorites. I hope you enjoyed all of these little clips from my romance buddies. Like this video if you did, comment below and subscribe to my channel. You can follow me and all my romance buddies on social media. The links will be in the description box below for you. I'll see you next time, avid readers.